Welcome back, focused learners, to another explainer. Today we are diving into something absolutely fascinating. We're looking at a 2006 philosophical essay by Zhui Feng called Infants Who Never Grow Up. Now, this text presents a radical, highly provocative thought experiment about human maturity and how our entire society is structured. We're going to explore this together, neutrally unpacking a very bold perspective on exactly why humanity builds the institutions it does.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for the explainer. 1. The need to grow up. 2. 4 steps of leaving. 3. Society's mother substitutes. 4. The family illusion. And 5. Stepping out of infancy.
Section 1. The need to grow up, the biology of attachment. To really wrap our heads around this essay, we have to start right where we all begin, right? Biological infancy, specifically milk and safety. According to the text, these are the twin pillars of a baby's attachment. It's an undeniable, totally natural biological premise. A baby has this profound physical and emotional attachment to its mother. We naturally cling to a mother's arms because, well, they provide nourishment, the milk, and absolute security, the safety. And because of these immense comforts, the very idea of leaving the mother feels naturally perilous. To a tiny infant, leaving that warm embrace literally feels like a threat to its very survival.
But here is the author's core thesis on the matter. Quote, "Leaving one's mother is painful, but to not do it is to remain an infant who never grows up." Feng argues that to achieve true maturity, we absolutely must sever this psychological and spiritual umbilical cord. It's not about physically abandoning your parents. It's about a deep internal detachment. Without going through that painful separation, the author claims we remain trapped in infancy forever.
Section 2. 4 steps of leaving, the natural progression.
So, how does a human being actually go about this painful psychological separation? Well, the text outlines 4 chronological steps of leaving. First, cutting the umbilical cord at the exact moment of birth. Second, the forceful process of weaning, which transitions a baby into a child. Third, cutting loose from home, which typically happens around the time of marriage. And finally, the ultimate cutting of emotional attachment, which the author says melts away upon a mother's passing. The crucial takeaway here is that Feng views this entirely as an uncontrollable, natural journey of life, not some act of heartlessness. It's just the biological blueprint for how we actually become independent.
Section 3. Society's mother substitutes, the macro metaphor. Now, what's really interesting here is we are executing a critical pivot. We're moving from the micro-biological level of a single baby to the massive macro level of human society. According to the text, humanity actually has a major problem. We have left our literal mothers in form, but not in essence. Our mother complex just transformed. The author argues we take our infant needs and project them onto 4 massive societal mothers: states, religions, political parties, and families. The premise here is that humanity is terrified of true independence, so we've simply built giant institutional mothers to give us that original milk and safety. We essentially trade our swaddling clothes for flags and doctrines.
Let's logically break down the author's critique for the first 3 pillars. Think about states. The infant motivation is to blindly protect the mother state, right? Well, Feng argues this results in alarming military waste and violent conflict. Then you have religions. Here, the motivation is a subconscious infant attachment seeking the ultimate parent. The author claims this results in misery, disasters, and a shackled human nature that completely stops us from thinking freely. And what about political parties? People are really just seeking the embrace, milk, and safety of an in-group. The result? Vicious power struggles and endless suffering, all under the guise of serving the people. By mapping this desperate search for milk and safety onto states, religions, and parties, the author claims to reveal the actual root cause of our global burdens.
So, why does this matter to us? Well, because the high cost of this mother complex is absolutely vast. We're talking contradictions, conflicts, and a completely diverted humanity. By clinging to these giant mother substitutes out of pure fear, the text argues we actively divert ourselves from what it calls the Great Way. We get so busy aggressively defending our institutional mothers that we end up remaining intellectually and spiritually stunted. Basically, we're forever fighting in a giant global nursery.
Section 4. The family illusion, the most intimate mother.
This brings us to a massive escalation in the author's thought experiment, addressing the final, most controversial, and definitely the most intimate societal institution of them all. Just listen to this striking quote. "The family is the cell of society, but these cells are inherently cancerous.
Now remember, we are just mapping the logic of the author's radical metaphor here, definitely not endorsing the viewpoint. But we need to understand the severity of this argument. Why on earth would the foundational unit of human connection be labeled cancerous by this philosopher?
Well, the text argues that the family is actually the ultimate enabler of our desire to stay safely tucked in a mother's arms forever, rather than actually maturing. The text literally lists the family as the source of selfishness, the root of greed, infinite lust, and our absolute reluctance to grow up. Because the family gives us the most direct, daily substitute for that infant milk and safety, Zifeng argues it completely prevents us from caring for humanity as one universal whole. It locks us into vicious, tribal cycles of selfish preservation.
Section 5. Stepping out of infancy. The ideal future.
So, if all of our most cherished institutions are really just keeping us as infants, what does a mature humanity actually look like? The author proposes a very specific solution. He describes an ideal state of human maturity called Lifechanyuan, which is populated by individuals known as Chanyuan celestials. This basically represents individuals who have achieved new era consciousness, meaning they have finally truly stepped out of infancy. And the really fascinating part of this vision? States and religions don't even need to be violently overthrown. The idea is that once humans no longer need their artificial milk and safety, these institutions will just naturally disappear into a historical memory all on their own.
And this brilliantly illustrates the complete paradigm shift the author is suggesting here. Think about the infant era, which in this framework represents all of human history up to now. In this era, sacrificing your life for states, religions, and political parties was viewed as great, noble, and totally respectable. But under New Era consciousness, that entire worldview flips upside down. Recognizing these institutions for what they truly are is the ultimate mark of enlightenment. They are simply the irrational attachments of people who never grew up. In this new consciousness, the so-called heroes of the past are viewed simply as frightened infants clinging to a security blanket.
We're going to wrap up our explainer today with a deeply provocative question that really sits at the very heart of Xu essay. Are our most cherished institutions actually keeping us safe, or are they keeping us from growing up? It's a sweeping thought experiment, isn't it? It forces us to look at our deepest societal structures through a completely radical psychological lens. I'm going to leave you, the focused learner, to ponder the logical extremes of this mother complex on your own time. Thank you so much for joining me. Keep questioning the world around you, and I will see you in the next explainer.